Malva neglecta. Nickname for this plant is spare tire. This is part 1, and in part 2 I'll be sharing a mnemonic or memory technique to help you commit to memory the most distinguishing characteristics of this plant for identifying purposes. Be sure to watch all of part 1 so that part 2 is understandable. This is a weedy plant. It's nearly erect, or the stems lie close to the ground in a vine-like fashion with the tips turned upwards. It is a sprawling plant, and it sprawls several feet along the ground. The flowers you see here are white. Notice the longitudinal violet stripes along each petal, which is characteristic of this plant. The calyx, the green part of the plant here, which encircles the flower, technically referred to as the corolla. The calyx bears 5 lobes The corolla bears 5 lobes or petals. Notice that the petals are twice as long as the calyx. The stems, as well as the leaves, are covered with very short white hairs. The flowers can also be tinted with pink or purple. The stems are somewhat succulent. The leaves bear 5 to 9 shallow lobes. The leaves can be round or kidney-shaped. They are deeply indented here at the base. They are 2.5 inches long and can be up to 3 inches across. The edges or margins of each leaf have teeth. They are not smooth. Notice here too how the leaves alternate along the stem. They are not opposite of one another. The leaf stalks are also longer than the leaves themselves. Five petals, longitudinal stripes, violet lines, shallow lobes, teeth around the margins or edges of the flowers, or of the leaves, I should say. This picture shows us an example of two of the seed pods. These seed pods have already matured. They are brown and dry. The fruit is composed of 12 to 15 individual seeds. Each seed is smooth, it is hairy, and they can be easily split apart. They are not fused together. This, by the way, is where the plant derives its nickname from, spare tire. I will be associating a spare tire with this plant when we come to the mnemonic in part 2. The spare tire will be used in the mnemonic to help you remember this plant for identifying purposes. One of the many common names for this plant is cheeseweed. Cheeseweed because others who have looked at this plant have noticed how the seed pods resemble a cheese wheel. But again, I will be associating spare tire in place of a cheese wheel for the mnemonic coming up in part 2. Notice again on each of these examples the calyx bearing 5 lobes. This picture shows us another example of a seed pod or a spare tire. And the stamen. There are numerous stamen. Stamen ordinarily branch outwards, or they are more separated from the pistil. In the case of this spare tire plant, and in the case of all mallow plants or plants in the mallow family, as this one is, you'll find numerous stamen which are pressed closely against the pistil, and many times, depending on which species of mallow plants you have, the filament or the stem of the stamen are fused together, creating a column around the pistil. This part here is what is referred to as the ovary. And the ovary of the spare tire plant and other mallows is in a superior position on the stem, not inferior. Petals, or the corolla, being twice as long as the calyx, specific to this species of mallow, the spare tire plant. This picture shows us a colony of spare tire plants and how they might appear, developing in a mat-like formation, sprawling, weedy, this can extend for several feet, and with the tips turning upward, can reach up to 3 feet tall. This picture shows us a closer look at the multiple stamen, in this case fused against the pistil. Seed pod or spare tire. Calyx is removed for photograph purpose. This plant bears a taproot, which is fairly straight and fairly short. The edible parts of this plant is essentially the whole plant: the leaves, the flowers, stems, seeds, and the roots. To learn how to prepare these plants, or these portions of the spare tire plant, visit survivalplantsmemorycourse.com, and there, from the Index of Plants link at the home page, click on Malva, neglecta, common mallow, or spare tire, and you'll find methods of preparation on the fact sheet. This has been part 1. Be sure to watch part 2, where I will be sharing a mnemonic or memory technique to help you commit to memory the most distinguishing characteristics of this plant for identifying purposes. Thank you for watching.